Week 5, there's buys, more injuries. So before Sunday, we need wide receiver rankings for Week 5, 2024 NFL season. Welcome to M Fantasy Football, where I combine industry-leading data, Vegas sports books, and expert analysis to provide you with optimal weekly rankings for the utmost accuracy when setting your weekly lineups in your fantasy football league. I'm writing this on Wednesday night for Thursday's video. Expect more videos every week for the other unit groupings, like running back, quarterback, and tight end. Click the playlist for all the rankings for Week 5. To start off, the top 46 wide receivers for Week 5 full PPR. Nico Collins, Jamar Chase, CeeDee Lamb, Justin Jefferson, and Malik Nabers. These guys are the only ones slated by sportsbooks to go for 80 yards or more. The next tier is separated by 15 to 20 yards this week. So a slightly larger gap than in previous weeks. They are your undisputed top 5 wide receivers for Week 5. A tier begins with the other elite wide receivers. Vegas has these wideouts projected for about 60 to 70 yards each. And we started off with Chris Godwin. His over-under set at 68 yards. Big prop for Godwin this week. He's the next highest besides the top 5. He gets the 6th spot for Week 5 against the divisional Falcons. He averaged, check this out, 76.8 yards in his career per game when facing the Falcons. Pretty good. Pretty good. Jaden Reed at 7. 138 yards and 139 yards in the 2 games with Love. 59 combined yards without Love. Rams secondary is 21st in the league. You think he'll get his 58 over-under? Yeah, I think he's going to. Lock him in. Chris Olave at 8. His over-under set at 66. He's averaged over 80 yards in his last 3 contests. He gets the 23rd ranked Chiefs this week. Touchdown would make it even sweeter, but he's set up for success this week. Lock him in. Marvin Harrison Jr. at 9. 63 over-under for MHJ. It's been a bit of a tumultuous past 2 weeks for Marvin. He still gets the 9th spot facing the Niners, who are league average against the pass. Is MHJ above average? Of course he is. DK Metcalf at 10. Absolute monster. He's averaged over 100 yards in each of his last 3 contests. So he gets the league average Giants secondary. You know, is he going to keep doing this? I don't know, but he's going to do great for sure. Mike Evans at 11. 64 over-under for Evans. He's averaged 78 yards per game over his entire career per game when facing the Falcons specifically. He's limited at practice, but it doesn't appear to be endangering his status. Check back on Saturday with the injury report for more information. Deontay Johnson at 12. 65 over-under for Deontay. With Andy Dalton, Johnson has averaged 100 yards per contest and 13.5 targets. Chicago's tough. Their secondary is 8th best so far this season. Don't be scared, okay? Slot them in. Stephon Diggs at 13. 66 over-under for Diggs. He's averaged 82 yards in his past 2 games and 10.5 targets. It's special to see Stroud propping up 2 wideouts this high week to week. Buffalo's tough, though. They're the 6th best against the pass, but Houston's in a great position to dot up all of these guys. 14, Drake London. 62 over-under for Drake. He's only averaged 62 yards, ironically, through his last 3 games, with a touchdown in 2 of those 3. He should be good for his over-under facing the league average Bucks this week. He slots in at the end of the tier. For the last guy in the tier, ErvinM.com. ErvinM.com is my company my best friend and I started in 2020. We literally make everything ourselves by hand. We have earrings, rings, necklaces, bracelets, tie clips, apparel, and more. Over a dozen curated gemstones and 100 handcrafted products. If you need a gift or something special for yourself, use the promo code in the description, find something you love, and buy it today. Now back to the video. We begin with the B tier with more starters, but with some nuances capping their ceiling between 50 and 60 yards. We prioritized matchups for this tier as we always do for everybody, but since B and C are so flat with similar receiving totals, you'll see the distinctions. At 15, Garrett Wilson. His over-under set at 54. I know, okay? He's been underwhelming, all right? The takeaway this week, though, is while the Vikings have been scary opponents, they allow the most passing yards in the league per game. This is a smash spot for Aaron Rodgers, Wilson, and more. He's got to crush here. T. Higgins at 16. His over-under set at 57. He managed 60 yards last week with 10 targets. He's looked good since his return from injury in week 3, and he faces Baltimore, who, like the Vikings, are scary opponents, but are 29th worst against the pass. He should crush. Should absolutely crush as well. And we'll go back-to-back with Ayuk and Debo at 17 and 18. They get the Cardinals, who are 18th currently defending the pass. They should be fine this week. The run game here is decimating the receiving production, but the floor is 50 and the ceiling's 100. So, not bad. DJ Moore at 19. 55 over-under for DJ. He struggled with 60-plus yards this season. His targets are fine. He should get better rest of season. But this week, he gets his old team and should be in a good spot considering their secondary is 19th. So, don't be afraid. George Pickens at 20. 55 receiving line for Pickens. Pickens' receiving yards have been inconsistent. However, his targets have been fine. In favorable matchups, he averaged over 90 yards. Sounds like he's going to do just fine. Rashid Shaheed at 21. Over under 56. Mans has become a mainstay and endangers Olave with his 80-plus receiving per game. Targets are low, though. Only 5 in 3 of 4 contests. But 11 in his last game. KC doesn't look the same. They're 23rd against the pass. Slide him on in there. And at 22, Terry McLaurin. 53 receiving total for Terry this week. He's averaged 58 yards in his last contests with about 8 targets in each one. Things are looking fine for Scary Terry and Daniels and company as they progress through the season. I expect them to get better. We should expect them to get scarier. C tier. These wideouts are more volatile. Vegas has this group for roughly 50 to 6 yards as well, but with more cause for concern given their situations. It's getting more dicey. We're going to start it off Dontavian Wicks at 23. We only have one game of 78 yards for data with Love back and Watson out. However, 13 targets outshines Reed and the rest. He gets the Rams, who are 21st against the pass. He's good. He's going to be fine. But I would be eager to see where he goes from here. Xavier Worthy at 24. While 73 yards is encouraging in his last matchup, he gets the 25th secondary in the Saints. Averaging 4 targets per game is not good, including last week's performance. He's in position to get more work and be utilized, but it is a bit concerning that this wasn't their plan from the beginning. He's obviously a great player, but their scheme has him on the back burner. I don't know. Brian Thomas Jr. at 25. His receiving line is set at 53 this week. Check out these games. 47 yards, 94 yards, 48 yards, 86 yards. He's got 9 targets in his last 2 games. I don't know. If he can't do this week against the Colts, 26th ranked secondary, then Doug Peterson is just going to get fired. JSN at 26. 19 yards, 117 yards, 39 yards, 51 yards. I mean, the volatility continues. He looks good out there. Why does he only get 2 targets in one game and then 10 in the next? I don't know. He don't write back. Michael Pittman Jr. at 27. For the love of God, Pittman gets the 31st worst secondary with the Jaguars this week. His targets have been consistent with Flacco. He went for over 100. I honestly want Flacco to play this week, but AR-15 status is still undetermined. If Flacco plays, slide him into the B tier, for real. Tyreek at 28. This is not what you want to hear, but we're going to be honest here. He's averaged 29 yards per game. 29! That's his last 3 contests, bro. His last 3 games, 29 yards was his average per game. New England is notorious for embarrassing teams with bad quarterbacks and taking away their number 1 threat. I mean, I don't know what else to say. It's devastating. Christian Kirk at 29. 55 receiving line for Kirk. This guy, 30 yards, -1 yards, 79 yards, 61 yards. 7 targets in each of his last 2 games. He gets the Colts below average pass defense. I don't know, man. Trevor looks like the highest paid janitor in the NFL, not named Deshaun Watson. Amari Cooper, speaking of Deshaun, he gets the 30 spot. His over-under is set at 56. Targets are there at 9 per game, but he's only had 1 game of 86 yards. The rest are less than 30 or 30. His matchup is good. Like the Jags, the quarterback play is just, it's so below average. Very bad, very bad. Hopefully he gets traded. Then that would be really good. Zay Flowers at 31. 50 receiving line set from Vegas. It's pretty much the same story for him as it is for the other 2, but for different reasons, i.e. the Ravens' run game and kind of the way that Jackson plays football. But only 1 contest over 90 yards. The other 3 contests, 30 or less. 3 targets per game is just not going to cut it. They face the Bengals, who are 11th best against the pass. I don't know, man. Ravens run first. D tier. We're officially concerned. These guys are your last viable options, projected for 40 to 50 yards. They are startable, but you don't feel good about it. We're going to start it out with Jordan Addison, okay? 38 receiving line from Vegas. 38 yards. 72 yards upon his return is great news for the number 2. The team looks great. The only thing concerning is we only have 1 game sample for Addison on his return, and he gets the worst matchup possible to follow up. The 2nd best pass defense in the New York Jets. So it's scary. And Khalil Shakir at 33. 50 receiving line for Khalil. In spite of Josh Allen being 20th in passing yards amongst all quarterbacks this season, Shakir's managed okay. He's averaged 57 yards per game. The issue is he gets like 5 targets a game. So they face the 4th best secondary in Houston. That's why he's at the beginning of this tier. Cortland Sutton at 34. His line is set at 44. Sutton has maintained 10 targets in 3 of his 4 games. He is literally the entire passing offense. That being said, though, that's not good. He's managed 60 yards in his last 2 contests. He gets the league average Raiders secondary this week, but I don't know. The team looks bad, you know. Darrell Mooney at 35. He's been playing pretty good. He's averaged 70 yards in his last 3 games and 7 targets in each of those matchups as well. His matchup is okay against the Buccaneers. In his best game, he was 8 for 8. But it's been 3 for 1, 7 for 3, and 6 for 3. Less than 50% in almost all of his contests. I don't know. I'll be honest, I don't watch the Falcons football a lot. I don't know if it's Kirk or he's like Butterfingers, but that's not cutting it. Wandale Robinson at 36. Robinson's been doing pretty good and seemingly ramping up his targets with Daniel Jones. It varies between 4 targets and 14 and 18 yards and 71 yards, though. He needs to be a more featured player, straight up. He's averaged 58 yards per contest if you exclude the week 2, in spite of Daniel Jones holding him back. And poor old Juwan Jennings, never going to get a chance. He's at 37. His over-under set at 42. I hope you played him week 3 and week 4 because the ride is almost certainly over. It's expected to be business as usual in San Fran. If Purdy struggles to support Debo and Ayuk with 50 yards each, how can we expect Juwan to do any better? We don't. We do not. Xavier Legette, welcome. Welcome to the rankings. He's at 38. Last week's performance showed us that he can replace Adam Thielen, thank Christ, and decisively become the wide receiver 2 on an Andy Dalton air yard offense. The issue is, it was only one game, and they get the 8th best secondary in the Bears, so temper expectations, fellas. And it's the last tier, okay? It's RIP. These guys are borderline unstartable, okay? This is pure desperation. Jerry Jeudy, 39. His over-under set at 45. His targets are consistent at 7 and 8, but it's been 25 yards, 73 yards, 27 yards, 72 yards. Browns continue to look like one of the worst offenses. And if our mantra is good players in good offenses, then it's no wonder he starts the last tier. For what it's worth, he does face the 22nd worst Commander secondary, but I don't know how much that makes you feel better. Keenan Allen at 40. Fittingly, his over-under is also set at 40 receiving yards. Keenan Allen finished with 1,255 yards last season. His best season ever. And he missed a few games. It's obvious that this lingering heel injury and Caleb's inconsistency has made it hard to remember that and to not think of him as like a washed up vet. He's obviously not 100%. We need to see it in the game. Otherwise, he's just at the bottom in doom. Jalen Waddle, 41. If Hill is this low, I mean, I don't think there's much explanation needed for why Waddle is as low as he is. I love both these guys. They're one of the best receiving duos in the league, straight up. But I think I could go out there and throw more receptions than Tyler Huntley, straight up. Not good. Not good at all. Very bad. How do they not have somebody else? There's no plan? If Tua goes down, no plan. Good Lord. Josh Downs at 42. It's the same story for Pittman. Down plays a more viable role with Anthony Richardson under center, while everyone is elevated a tier or two with Flacco in general. They get the 31st worst secondary in the Jags, but I wouldn't be excited slotting him in if A-Rich starts this week. Just being honest. Rome Odunze at 43. We're almost there, boys. 36 receiving line for Rome Odunze. He's had one game with 11 targets and 112 yards. Then it's 1 for 11, 2 for 33, 1 for 10. I mean, rest of season is more optimistic for all the Bears receivers, but don't convince yourself of a flex play with him or anyone else not named DJ Moore. Romeo Doubs at 44. Great matchup, great quarterback, but he is third fiddle even after the Watson injury. Love only has so much to spread, and Doubs is behind Reed, Wicks, Josh Jacobs, and Kraft. I mean, it's a long line. Tyler Lockett, out of nowhere. Well, not really, but he's always been around. But Jesus Christ, he's not going to retire anytime soon. Holy crap. Lockett's been pretty good considering he's third in line in their receiving core, behind Metcalf and JSN. But he's averaged 49 yards per game. Geno leads the league in passing right now. So he's been dishing it out enough to make the third man here make the rankings. If you wanted to slide him down to the front of the tier, that's probably where you should want him. The Giants aren't a major threat. It's just kind of a roll of the dice if he's going to get dotted up with 8 targets or with 2 targets. So Jacoby Myers at 46. 9 targets and 10 targets in his last 2 games and about 55 yards. Not bad considering the state of the team. The takeaway this week is they face the Broncos and the number 3 secondary so far this season. I mean, he's a full-time player. He gets the last spot on the list as anyone remotely viable as we try and survive buys and injuries here in week 5. I don't know. There's quarterback and tight ends tomorrow. If you miss running backs, click the playlist. I'll put your wideouts back on screen now. I sincerely hope this helps everyone watching. Comment below what you think of this week's rankings. Is your team wrecked? Are you 4-0? Let me know. Thank you for your time. And if you want to support the channel so I can keep making videos like these, subscribe and turn on post notifications so you can see all the videos each week before submitting your lineups. It's free, so it's a good value. And if you want to support me, support you, check out my store, www.ervinm.com. I have 2 passions, fantasy football and small business. We're a 2-man show at E&M. We take pride in the quality and craftsmanship of our products. There's no better way to support me than by buying a gift or something special for yourself. Everything is handcrafted from limited stock here in North Carolina. By us. By me and my partner. We do everything ourselves with our own hands. We ship anywhere in the U.S. Don't forget the promo code. Thanks again if you're still with me. That's the video. See you in the comments. Next video.